What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another fantasy football video. This one I'm super pumped to make. Top 5 controversial players 2017 fantasy football season. Really excited to make this one because this is what this channel is basically built on. It's being a little bit controversial, not going with the ADPs that everyone has out there, not going with everyone's rankings that everyone has, and not taking a stand on any players. No, we take stands on players here. So these are the guys that maybe there's no like set opinion. Like this is a set opinion. Antonio Brown's a pretty good player. You should probably take David Johnson or Lev Bell like 1 and 2. Like there's set opinions about players. These are guys that you're either on one side or the other. So I'm going to tell you where they're going, what the case is for and against them, and then how I feel about that. And then tell me in the comment section below how you feel about that, how your opinions differ, or if they're the same as mine. But before we get into this video, and I'll throw on the screen exactly when the actual video will be starting, I want to update you guys on 2 things. The donation that we're going to be having and the podcast. So we'll start up with the donation. That's going to be running through July for this first wave, and then we're going to have a second wave going through August. So July donation is going to be the Wounded Warrior Project, and then August is going to be up to you guys. I'm going to see how the engagement is for this one, and then we're going to maybe do a vote, or maybe I'll talk to you guys in the comment section on what donations you would like to do for August. But for July, we're doing Wounded Warrior, and it's going to be through t-shirt sales. So we're selling t-shirts through the link in the description. Not right now, although if you're watching this video at least 2 days after it's been out, it is live because it'll be in July. This video goes out June 30th, so the last day of June. Hasn't started yet if you're watching this right when it goes out. This is kind of what the t-shirt looks like. It doesn't have this rectangle around it. That's just, right now I'm on the screen. I'm actually making them right now. I'm on the screen just telling me the printable area. Obviously, the rectangle is not going to be there, but it's just going to have our logo on the front. It's going to be white and gray because I hated every single other color that our logo kind of mixed with. It's just going to be t-shirts, and then actually there's a women's long sleeve that was fine. I just didn't like any of the sweatshirts or any of the men's long sleeves. If there is something like a sweatshirt or something you guys wanted, I can start one of that up, but it's just going to be t-shirts. It's going to be $25, and then 50% of the profits will be going towards Wounded Warrior, and I think it's a good donation. I chose that one, and we'll see what we can do for August. But definitely support the channel, and support the Wounded Warrior Project by getting yourself a shirt. The podcast is not set in stone yet, but what I want to do is during the year, instead of doing the 2 videos a week, to do an hour-long podcast. And the issue with that is that it won't be able to go up. Like, I can't do it for, Tuesday night. I can't have the podcast ready. So I'm not going to be able to do a podcast for Waiver Wire. You're going to have to be a premium member of the site or be in the Facebook chat or something to get access to that, because we're not just making a video just for the Waiver Wire. But the podcast is going to be a lot more focused on daily fantasy, on trade targets, on streaming options definitely every week. We'll talk about the Waiver Wire people, but the Waiver Wire will be over by then because we can't just make a podcast like the day after. We have to have a little bit of time. So I want to start it over the summer though. Maybe I can start it late July, but I don't have anything rock solid yet. I'll be updating you guys every mock draft Monday and stuff, what my thoughts are. But hopefully we can start that late July and then roll right throughout the entire season, a once-a-week podcast. Let me know your thoughts on some ideas for that in the comment section below. But that's what I have right now. So, back into this video. Top 5 controversial players. Now, some of these guys, because I chose a mixture of guys that I liked versus guys that I didn't like. Again, the rundown of how this is going to work. I'll tell you the ADP. I'll tell you the case for and against them. And I'll tell you what my feeling is. So, number 5, Dez Bryant. Now, this is probably, I haven't actually checked, probably one of the cheapest we've ever seen Dez. Now, not like in the beginning of his career, but over the last maybe 5 years, this is probably the most discounted Dez Bryant has been. Going as wide receiver 9, I really did think it was later, just because I've been in so many mock drafts where he does fall later than that. He is one of the wider range players on this list. Not the widest range, but one of the wider range players where, listen, you're either way for him or way against him. Because guys that are for him are saying, look, 2012 to 2014, dude averaged 91 receptions, 1,311 yards, and 13 touchdowns. Now, we always think of Dez Bryant as that standard play, and that guy that maybe we take away from PPR. Well, you know what? 91 receptions is a decent amount of receptions for a guy grabbing 13 touchdowns. So he's not just a standard play, he's a play. Like, he's a great play when he's healthy. That's been the issue. In the past, the injuries have been a huge concern. And if it was just the injuries, I'd say screw it. I am not going to rank players based on injury unless they have a huge injury history. 2 years isn't enough for me to say you have a huge injury history. The issue for Dez for me this year is that isn't my concern. My concern is his schedule. It is brutal for the wide receiver position. And for the quarterback position, obviously, if it's bad for the wide receiver position, which is why I'm not that high on Dak. Look at his matchups. And say what you want about Josh Norman and Janoris Jenkins, whether you think they're elite or not, but what do? Is they get into your head, right? So Dez Bryant is one of those super emotional players that if you get into his head, kind of like Odell, you can honestly shut him down if you win, like, the verbal battle, which sounds stupid. It sounds really stupid. And you know what? When Dez is amped and Odell's amped, yes, they can have those 200-yard games. But they're very emotional players, and they can take themselves out of games, not like literally take themselves out of the game, but they can put themselves into a position where emotionally they're just not there. They're way too amped, and they just don't play as good. And I think that whether you think Jenkins and Norman are good players or not, I happen to think they're very good players. But whether you think that or not, I think they can get into his head. Norman has said that he's going to shadow receivers this year. He didn't do it last year, so he didn't fall around Dez the entire time. He said he's going to do it this year, but he's got Jenkins twice, Norris twice. He's got Pat Pete, Marcus Peters, Jason Verrett or Hayward. Verrett's coming off the injury, but I mean, honestly, Verrett was locked down before he got hurt, and then Hayward was locked down. So both of them are going to be difficult. He's got Sherman. He's got that Eagles secondary twice. So he's just got such a brutal schedule that when you combine that with the injuries, I just can't do it. And I don't think I've drafted him in mock draft yet. Remember, we've done 2 a week for a little while now. I just don't see myself grabbing him. And unless he drops into, like, the late 3rd round, that's probably where I'm comfortable taking him. And I got to be comfortable in my other picks too. Like, I can't take him when I took a little bit of risk in the first 2 rounds, because that's just too much risk for me in those first 4 rounds. Remember, the first 4 rounds, I like to kill it. I like to be sure on my picks. I'm just not sure on Dez. So for me, I'm just going to pass on Dez Bryant this year. I would much rather have Amari Cooper and Doug Baldwin. I wouldn't say much rather. It's not like I'm taking him in the first round. But I think that given the choice between Cooper, Baldwin, and Dez, I would take Cooper and Baldwin every single time, both of them, and they're both going after him. So that's why I can't do it for him. Next, Frank Gore. And you guys have heard me say plenty that I believe Frank Gore is undraftable. If Frank Gore is available for me in the 10th or 11th round, I won't be drafting Frank Gore. That's how undraftable he is for me. If he is sitting there at the end of the draft, I won't be taking him because those picks are about upside. You guys have heard me say a million times, last 2 rounds, defense kicker, and you take flyers for like the 3 or 4 rounds before that, that's really not that many shots. And I'm not taking a shot on Frank Gore because there's no chance that he hits. Dude's 34. Okay, say what you want about always being consistent. He's 34. Since 2000, there has only been one running back season, or one running back for one season to finish over 94 PPR points. And that was Emmitt Smith. Only one season. 94 would be running back 50. So only one running back, 34 years or older, has finished as running back 50 or better. Emmitt Smith, he did 168 points. Just for reference, in PPR scoring, Jeremy Hill, did you really want Jeremy Hill last year? Jeremy Hill had 178 points in PPR. Or 176, excuse me. Off by 2. 176 points. So he outscored that. So we're saying best case scenario, this dude has the best season ever for 34-year-old or more. Then he's Jeremy Hill in PPR last year, which was unstartable, basically, for a large portion of the year. Like, he's just not, he's not a good play. He's not a good play. And we're drafting him in the 7th round on Fantasy Football Calculator. In ESPN, he's going in the 6th round. His production over the last 2 years, yes, he's been startable. He's been a great pick, basically, the last 2 years. That's because of the volume. It hasn't been because he's been any good. He's been very inefficient. Consecutive seasons, under 4 yards per carry. Those are the only 2 years in his entire career he's done so. 0.6 yards after contact per touch. 73rd in the league last season. 23rd in the league in evaded tackles. And you'd be like, well, that's pretty decent. He had the 7th most carries. So on the 7th most carries, he was only 23rd in evaded tackles. He's not getting the yards after contact. He's not elusive anymore. The only reason he's been viable was because he's getting the volume. And now that they have Marlon Mack in there, I really think he's not going to be getting those receptions. He's going to regress in the touchdown department from what he did last year. And I just don't think he's a viable pick. I do not think you can make that pick. So for me, it's a no. It's a no on Dez and it's a no on Frank Gore. So is it a yes on anyone? Well, we're going to go with a kind of yes here. For me, Todd Gurley is 100% draftable. 100%. What you need to do is not reach on him. And you guys have heard me say it before. You just don't reach in the first 2 rounds, obviously. You let the value come to you. And a lot of times the value for Todd Gurley has been coming to people. You know, if he starts slipping to like running back 12, 13, 14, like you got to pounce on that. Because what did we see last season? Well, the argument against him was he wasn't very good. And yes, the offense was terrible, which was a large part of why he was so bad. But Todd Gurley himself was not very good. Look at all the metrics you can find on the internet right now. I'm sure there's plenty. Just Google Todd Gurley production or something like that. And he himself, not just the O-line, not just the offense, he himself was not good last season. So I get it. He was last in the league, 0 runs over 25 yards on 278 carries. He had 3.2 yards per carry last season. I was like, are you kidding me? 3.2. So I went into what I have since 2000. I sorted by 264 carries, because remember, I only save my stuff through 16 weeks, because that's what we play in fantasy. He had 264 carries through 16 weeks. And I was like, has anyone else been this bad? Yeah. But it's only happened twice. So 2 running backs since the year 2000 have been that bad in a yards per carry standpoint with that many opportunities. But you think, okay, is the dude going to get 2.9 yards a carry? It's not like anyone's taking over. Unless he gets hurt, he's getting the same, if not more, workload in that offense. And I think he becomes more involved in the passing game. So for me, when you look at depending on your scoring, 15th, he was running back 15th in PPR scoring. When you look at that, that's a floor, in my opinion. That is rock bottom what he does, is running back 15. So I think it's fair taking him at running back 11. Because you're saying, okay, I'm going to take him 11th. Worst case scenario is that he doesn't return my like late 2nd, early 3rd round value. He returns like a 4th round value. But if that's worst case scenario, you're looking pretty good. Right? I mean, plenty of people won their leagues taking Todd Gurley in the 1st round. It was obviously better to take Bell, DJ, Zeke, but plenty of people won taking Todd Gurley because he was bad. Believe me, he was bad for where people took him, but he wasn't as bad as we're making it out to be. And I think there's only up for Todd Gurley, which is why I'm fine taking him. I don't want to take him in the 2nd round. But if he falls a little bit, I'm fine with it. Totally fine with it. So that's Todd Gurley for you. The next guy is way more controversial. Is Sammy Watkins. Oh my God. People are either drafting this guy super early or won't take him, like me for Frank Gore. Some people literally said they won't take him in the 7th round if he's there, which is a little bit absurd for me because you look at his last 14 games when he's healthy with Tyrod Taylor, 1,236 yards and 9 touchdowns. That is on pace for more points over 16 game sample than Antonio Brown last season. When I say he has wide receiver 1, I mean upside. I mean he has number 1 overall for the position upside. Okay? Don't be super concerned about this injury he had and these surgeries he had. Edelman and Julio both required 2 surgeries for the same foot injury. It's honestly common that you require 2 surgeries and then you're good to go. The issue, if you want to say an issue, because yes, he is more likely to get hurt from this, but it is not significantly more likely to get hurt. And to be honest, the chance that he gets hurt is more an overcompensation. It's him going out there saying, man, I don't want to hurt this foot, overcompensating with other muscles and getting other muscles and other parts of the body injured. That is more likely than him re-injuring this injury, okay? So, I don't want to dock him too much because, again, I don't trust anything that's being said at this point in the season. On June 30th, when this is put out, I don't trust anything. Obviously, they're not getting any news right now. But in the past couple weeks, don't listen to any of this. Oh, he looks great. Everyone looks great when they don't have pads and no defense. If you don't look great, there's something wrong with you. You probably shouldn't even be in the NFL. So they have said he's not overcompensating. It's like the injury never happened. Listen, that's probably what they're going to say no matter what. So don't put too much stock into that. But if he goes out there, which they're not going to probably use him much in the preseason just because they don't want him to get hurt. But if he goes out there in the preseason, he looks great, which I think he will, and all the reports are that he's going 100%, he's going to be 100%, you're getting him in the mid-4th round, man. Oh, my God. He shouldn't be going this late. He's going right now behind Tyreek Hill, makes no sense, Devonta Adams, Alshon Jeffrey, and Keenan Allen. Now, the only one I can see is Keenan Allen. I can see that. But I would take him before all of those guys. And especially Devonta Adams and Tyreek Hill. Now, if you want to make the argument you're an Alshon lover, I'm not. But if you're an Alshon lover, okay. If you're a Keenan Allen lover, again, I'm not, because I think Keenan Allen's just as much, if not more, of an injury risk than Sammy Watkins with less upside. But if you're an Allen lover, okay. But Devonta Adams and Tyreek Hill, come on. You can't be making those picks over him. He cannot be going as wide receiver 22 when he has wide receiver 1 upside if he stays healthy. This is the same case for Bell. You got to think about it like that. Le'Veon Bell is probably more of an injury risk than Sammy Watkins is this year. But people are blinded by the upside of him. Well, why are people blinded by the upside of Watkins? People are like, oh, it's a run-first offense. Okay, when they're not running, which they're not going to win that many games. They're going to be okay, but they're not going to win that many games. They're going to be throwing. And you really think they're going to, like, pepper Zay Jones with, like, 1 million targets a game? No. The targets are going to go to Sammy Watkins, short, middle, and deep. Remember, he's a monster deep threat. He's going to be looked at the red zone. He's going to be looked at between the 20s. He's going to be looked at everywhere. So if he's healthy for 16 games, he's got #1 upside. And honestly, I don't see a world where he's healthy for 16 games he doesn't finish top 7. And if you're going to give me that upside in the 4th round, I'm going to pounce on it. So I love the pick. I haven't made it in a ton of mock drafts because I haven't looked into him too much. But I like it. And a lot of you guys are way too off on him and need to look at him a little bit more closely. The last player on the list is the savior in Oakland, MARSHAWN Lynch. Now, the #1 thing I've heard people personally say against MARSHAWN Lynch is he's going to get hurt 100%. And I've said it too because I honestly believe it's going to happen. But the upside's there. And will he get hurt? Probably. At least one game he will likely miss. Will he suffer, like, a season-ending injury? Listen, I'm not going to sit here and try and predict that. Which is why I've moved him up in rankings. Because I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, he's going to get hurt. Well, I don't know the future. Is he more of a risk to get hurt? 100%. He's in the red ranking in our premium rankings for risk. He's a very risky pick. And he's going in a spot where you kind of want to kill it. Right? I mean, 2nd round, like, you got to hit you in your first 2-round picks. But a running back 10, it's fair. He's not going to go any higher than this. So right now, he's at his peak. If he looks good in camp, I really just don't see a scenario where he rises much. Maybe he rises a little bit, but I don't see him going much higher than this. It's happening on Fantasy Football Calculator and ESPN. He's got the exact same rating. Late 2nd round pick. But I have seen him fall into the 3rd round. Not really the 4th round. You're probably not going to get him in the 4th. If you get him in the 4th, you pounce on that. But here's my take on MARSHAWN Lynch. Even if he's bad, like even if he's not the Lynch we've always seen, he looks kind of slow, he's less explosive, he's not running people over. Even if he's not going to be bad, even if he's bad, right? Like, someone can be bad, but not be bad for fantasy. And that's what I kind of see happening. I see him being, like, not the Lynch we've always seen, but a Lynch that we can start every single week. Because this is a really good offense. and they're going to be in red zone a lot. And if you had to pick Latavius Murray or Marshawn Lynch to be your red zone back, you're picking Marshawn Lynch. And they fed Latavius Murray in the red zone last year. 6th most carries inside the 20, 5th most inside the 10, 4th most inside the 1. Look at this team from a red zone perspective and ask yourself why they did that. Well, their number one's Amari Cooper. They don't use him in the red zone. Okay? They don't really have like a super elite satellite back, you know, a super elite pass catching guy. So they don't really dump it off to them in the red zone. They've got Crabtree, but again, Crabtree's getting up there, and although he's always a good pick, still is this year, he's getting up there, and they don't really have like an uber dominant tight end. Yeah, they got Jared Cook, but listen, Rodgers made Jared Cook in the playoffs. He's not that good of a tight end. So they're going to run the ball, and they've proven last year that they're going to run the ball. And we have Marshawn Lynch, you run the ball in the red zone. We've seen what happens when you don't do that. So when he's running behind easily the best offensive line he ever has, from an efficiency standpoint, before his injury, he was really good, honestly, efficiently. So, I mean, Oakland needs him, right? Look at their fan base. Like, their fan base wants to abandon them for being abandoned by the franchise. They need someone to come in here and save them. And Marshawn Lynch is an Oakland Raider. I mean, he's got Oakland tattooed on his chest. Like, he lives there. Even when he doesn't play there. Like, he loves Oakland. And he wants the fans to stay. I think he wants to just put on a show for Oakland. And I think the franchise is like, look, they're not gonna give the ball to DeAndre Washington when they're at the 1. Like, just put that through your head. I don't care if Lynch is bad in camp and everything. When they're at the 1, DeAndre Washington and Jalen Richard are not getting the ball. It's Marshawn Lynch. So the touchdown upside is just massive with how good that offense should be and how good that team should be this year. Because I really think Carr takes another step forward into the elite quarterback standing. And I just think Marshawn Lynch is a great pick. Again, like I've always said, caveat to this, I'm not saying go draft Lynch in the first round. I'm saying never ever reach on anyone. I don't care who they are in the first 3 rounds. Really the first 4 rounds. But 4th round, I guess you can start reaching a little bit. The first 3 rounds, reach on no one. So if Lynch falls to you, if Watkins falls to you, if Gurley falls to you, I'm saying pounce. If Gore's there at the last pick in the last round, you say, you had a fantastic career, but I'm going to leave you there. And then Dez, even if he slips, I just can't do it. He won't be on any of my teams because I just don't like the pick. But that's going to do it. That's the top 5 controversial players in this year's 2017 fantasy football season. If you have different opinions than mine, which I'm sure you do, let me know in the comment section down below. Remember, if you're not watching this on the exact day that it was released, then the donation is alive. Please check that out. It's a great foundation to donate towards. Get yourself some apparel, support the show, support a great organization, and we will see you on the next video.